Hey guys, Luton here. Now first up, apologies for the lack of content. I've been sick and as you can hear, my voice is basically non-existent. So I am unwisely making this video today in state of my voice, despite being unwell, though I am going to be working on my Steam sale video for you guys as I always do, and I've got a ton of content also to just crack through as soon as my human voice returns. So this is a short video today, or it should be by my standards, to say how a strange thing happened to me this week that was unexpected. EA reached out to me to work with me again. On the face of it, that seems like a positive thing, but I also can't help feeling suspicious given the recent non-inviting of other producers to EA Play, which was very weird. Then again, I also feel like I'm overthinking the whole situation. So I'll also say that I already expect the face value ignorance in some of the comments on this, who think that any frustration by myself is down to simply not being included in something, or that I'm jealous or salty about that. To those people I say, believe whatever you want. You can believe me or not. A lot of people that watch my channel trust me because they know about my integrity, but try to engage your brain and think about this beyond just the two dimensions of I see a thing, and so it must be that thing. So this all started after I had a Twitter conversation, which I didn't start by the way. A subscriber followed and tagged me in with Jim H. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so rather than just slaughter it, I'll say Jim H. He was alluding to the fact that the Battlefield 5 closed... He works for EA, by the way. He was alluding to the fact that the Battlefield 5 closed alpha places would be limited and probably invite only. And the follower suggested, why don't you include people like Battle Nonsense and Luton? And to be clear, Battle Nonsense and myself have been probably two of the most critical producers of Battlefield, and who have also been very long excluded from attending events for feedback or covering the game. Well, that's what I thought anyway. I'll get to that in a minute. Now still, as I've said before, throughout Battlefield 1, I was definitely covering more armor content than Battlefield by a wide margin. Also, I was posting videos like me saying, I'm done with Battlefield, or in relation to Star Wars Battlefront, don't buy this game. But let's also be clear that part of my reasoning for shifting away was in part down to the fact that I got disillusioned by previously having been seemingly welcomed to give in-depth feedback, but then with no explanation just kind of got dropped. And this was despite having been invited to a couple of hardline bits and pieces, but when it came to Battlefield 1, it was clear that I was just no longer involved. On top of that, as we know, the game itself was something of a pain fest, and so I just generally felt pretty disillusioned in all respects, both from an involvement and a gameplay point of view. Now, I already know what some are going to say, despite me having posted a video only this week explaining my perspective of this. Oh, LT, you're just jealous, you're salty, blah, 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 that others were getting invited and you weren't getting invited. Look, believe whatever you want to, but I honestly don't care that much one way or the other if I go to events or not. As I said on my video the other week, events can actually be a pain in the ass because they take a lot of time and you really get much back to justify them, in my opinion, unless it's something like the recent EA Play event where people were getting the content ahead of time, and of course that content alone makes it very worthwhile. Most events that I go to for game previews or testing are just simply because I'm interested in the game and also want to give some thoughts to the dev, and usually because it's a fun thing to do. But honestly, you can take it or leave it. The reason I felt so slighted by the situation specifically with EA and Battlefield was because I had previously been pretty much part of the team of producers who were seeing stuff early, and they decided for some reason to kind of show me the door. And my issue with that is, it was never explained. It was more just this horrible kind of blanking and being cut out. Anyway, now back to the Twitter conversation. So Jim H was curious why I responded saying this about, you know, not being able to cover the game or not being into the game. I said I look forward to a continuing inability to cover the game despite 7 years of dedicated Battlefield coverage. Obviously I'm exaggerating, but I said that was down to a vibe that only a select few were going to be in on that closed alpha, and we can read between the lines who that select few are primarily going to be. Because despite how positive and we are changing things and it's all constructive that current tone is around Battlefield and especially EA, it seems very much to me that this is pretty contrived. It's a contrived thing primarily designed to save face after the debacle that was the more than poorly judged Star Wars Battlefront 2 loot crate shambles. They want to make it seem to be, you know, heavily including community, get all that good stuff on board. And hey, you know, if something fucks up, I've seen other producers doing this on Twitter as well. Like, it's the classic thing of, if someone is coming at you with a negative, you respond with a positive, because if you respond with a positive, it gives that person nowhere to go. So when you see people being very brutally critical or saying like, why is this even in the game? It's just really, you know, you come back by saying, oh, but look, they're trying to change it. They'll hear that, they'll put it forward, they'll change it. What's your problem? What's your problem? The problem is that just having that kind of incredibly one-dimensional view of like, things can only get better, you know, it's like, yeah, I understand that, but you're missing the point of what people get pissed off about. People by now expect a lot from that game, and so to have to continually remind the devs like, hey, can you do this, can you do that, why haven't you done this, why haven't you done that, why is this in here, why isn't this here, that ongoing conversation after like 3 or 4 games gets pretty bloody tedious. And that's what's annoying. It's not about like, can they change it? Of course they can change it. They can change it anytime. You criticize something and say, hey, I actually think this should be something different. Of course they can hear that and respond to it. So if someone is critical or picking something up, just saying like, oh, well, pass it forward. This is a positive thing. It's all positive. Everything's positive because they're listening to the community and everything's good and it's all good and everybody's happy and it's all good. It's like, please don't insult my intelligence, okay? Just having that kind of happy, clappy, stranger's just a friend you haven't met yet is so patronizing and insulting, it drives me to distraction. And unfortunately, that's the kind of tone that you see around the people that are the in crowd, the game changers. And it's like, it's pretty obvious why someone like me wouldn't be party to that, because I am not of the cult of a stranger's just a friend you haven't met yet. Stranger's a stranger, they can fuck off. So I went on to tell Jim that by all accounts I strangely still am a DICE friend and game changer, because I still get some emails and stuff. It's really weird. But that simultaneously I had not really been invited to any previews or events since the middle of Hardline. And Jim went on to explain how the Game Changers is an important system for them because it's about serving the community with better tools and better content. And I said, yeah, I know that, because I was doing that with them before Game Changers was even a thing. Important though for me is to highlight that this was something that I got wrong, because I took some time to go back through my emails this week and to check in on what I had or hadn't been invited to, and it turns out that I did in fact get invited to a Battlefield 1 preview and record session, but I was unable to attend because it clashed with another trip that I had already locked down fully. So I say that just to highlight my own error and for transparency. And also, as I said in the other video, I did get invited to a couple of Hardline events as well, but I couldn't attend for various reasons. I should also point out that as with most YouTube producers who play Battlefield, EA had given me copies of the game since probably Battlefield 4 onward, so EA have supported me in that regard as well. But that goes for pretty much, I would guess, all Battlefield producers. However, another thing that I remembered off the back of this was that during Hardline I got invited to an event which I could attend, and this was when I was still working full time. I booked the time off of work, and then for some reason they decided, oh, we can't bring so many people and you're one of the people that gets cut. And I had already taken that time off work and I couldn't get out of having taken that time off, so it ended up being a complete waste for me. When I expressed how frustrating this was and it was not a bad thing, I got back a very flippant reply, and it just pissed me off. So the long and short of it is that EA reaching out to me has been positive immediately, because not just in respect to actually just doing so, but in that it's also made me look back through some dialogue I have had over the past 3 years to find out that, you know what, I actually have clouded my own judgment and even mentally built up an incorrect narrative of events because of things that I had simply forgotten. You know, they didn't just flat out cut me out. I did get invited to stuff, but I definitely got put to the back of the queue and sidelined. Now the other positive is the conversation I had with the guy who reached out to me, because it was very frank and forthright with very much an angle on no bullshit and just putting out exactly what we think there, which is pretty much how I have all conversations these days anyway. If you aren't clear about things, or if you don't own what you say, in both the bad and the good, the mistakes and successes, then you don't really have much to say at all, and you should probably just shut up. It's why I'm always very happy to point to things that I've done wrong in the past, or hypocritical things that I've done in the past, and say, yep, that was stupid or wrong, and I've learned from that process of sequence and events. I think it's important to do that, and I think that anybody that doesn't do that and is still hypocritical, those are the people who are the true hypocrites. So we finished up by simply agreeing to kind of just start working on things a little bit, and if you want to be able to trust someone again, that's going to happen of course through actions and not words, and it's going to happen with time. Now I still feel personally right now that EA's general position is to appeal to the broadest audience possible, and that by doing so means you inevitably have to compromise some features and elements in your game that subjectively should be more severe or challenging. My final thought is that it's been positive that EA reached out to me at all, but I also struggle to understand why now, because I appreciate it and I'm also confused by it simultaneously. I am, I guess, a mid-level YouTube producer who right now doesn't focus 100% on Battlefield, who also, let's be real, more often than not harshly slates EA and things around Battlefield. But with that said, I also, for some reason, do seem to have people that I know in games and in, say, like DICE and other developers that seem to enjoy my content and opinions, which sometimes I also find pretty confusing. Maybe they actually find having a harsh point of reference sobering, I'm just speculating here, so that they don't get too drunk from those sweet saturated YouTube channels that spend all their time declaring another triumph. I really don't know, but it still seems a good thing to me, and the tone of it, the tone of the conversation sat very well with me as well. It seemed very genuine and very honest and straight, and I'm generally pretty good at, you know, my bullshit-o-meter is pretty decent at detecting that, and it didn't feel like that. It felt very sincere. So that's where I'm at. I thought it was an interesting thing, I thought it was worth flagging up to you, but more so I thought it was an interesting thing from the point of view of making me slightly reevaluate myself and reevaluate my own narrative when it comes to how I've been dealing with that and dealing with the game. That's where I'm at with it. Interested in your thoughts as always, guys. Tell me down below. Lots more content coming up soon. I apologise for a little this week. There will of course be more 40k, there will be the Steam sale stuff, there's some more about Postscriptum, so there's lots of bits and pieces. I'll just finish up by saying also there's been a bit of a kind of conflab on YouTube this week in regards to people posting I'm live on Twitch videos. Obviously I stream on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. I'm probably going to remind people about that a little bit more because I'm probably not going to post those live to YouTube videos much more. I might make some kind of videos here and there, but anyway, if you want to come and check me out on Twitch, join in. Great community, we have a lot of fun, so come over there, check the link down below, come and drop a follow and then you can join in. Thanks for watching as always. I will see you next time.